Hey guys, Foxdrop here. The ranked season is finally here after what seems like an eternity of that hideous pre-season. And that means your LP will actually start to mean something again. Fantastic news. So I figured I'd chuck down my thoughts on what the best junglers are to get yourself some of that cheeky, easy LP early on into your ranked climb on the Rift. I know I've been doing a ton of gameplays in the past few months, so if you want to check out an educational full gameplay on how to play the champions mentioned in this video, feel free to have a gander down in that description below. And if you're interested in some other junglers, you can peruse through my channel for loads of different games and champions not mentioned here today as well. Anyway, let's get cracking. I'm going to show you the best solo queue junglers and give you some tips on how to play them. There's also no order to this list. Everyone here is really solid. The first one mentioned, not necessarily better or worse than the last one mentioned. So the first champion for today is Xin Zhao. We're keeping it pretty obvious for this one. Xin Zhao is currently seeing a huge amount of popularity in professional play over multiple reasons, and to be honest, this guy has been busted since 2017. Most recently, he's being played with Hail of Blades. The new buff to this rune makes it really good at getting an instant knock-up and huge burst off in those early ganks. Fantastic news for Xin Zhao. Like, Xin was broken enough before this rune, and now he's even more broken. It's actually pretty impressive how Riot managed to do that. And Xin is legitimately one of, if not the strongest early game jungler in the entire game. Before level 6, there's not really anyone that can match him toe to toe. After level 6, he meets a few more worthy opponents, but he's still one of the strongest duelists in the game. His ganks are also insane right from level 2, especially with that Hail of Blades rune, like I mentioned before, and his Scuttle Crab control is second to none. That in itself is especially useful in the current meta, where securing those crabs can give you a significant lead over the enemy jungler. Something that's also really important with Xin, he's easy as ball sacks to play, like really simple. He has no advanced techniques, no real way for you to misplay mechanically, which means your performances on him are likely to be extremely consistent. Xin Zhao basically has it all. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to list off his strengths and stuff, but really there isn't anything that isn't a strength of Xin. Maybe his AoE clears, even though those themselves aren't that bad, to be honest. His late game also falls off a little bit, but he still functions pretty fine as a semi-assassin or as a disruptor with his ultimate. Like, really, this guy is just so good. He's going to be my personal go-to jungler for Season 9 at least. Absolutely nutty champion. Next jungler for you guys is the big old buggy boy, Kha'Zix. Often picked in professional play as a counter to Xin Zhao, Kha'Zix is, in my opinion, the best pure stomping solo queue jungler. If you just want to run around and shit on people, then Kha'Zix is the boy for you. He's the best jungle assassin in the game, capable of comboing people right from when he gets his warrior enchant, and what's even greater about this fact is that he doesn't rely on his ultimate to do it. This means he can keep his efficiency pretty high when going for aggressive plays. Like, it's not as if he needs to sit down and chill out a little bit after taking someone out, since he's not reliant on any big cooldown. I mentioned that Kha'Zix is often seen as a counter to Xin Zhao in pro play. The way that matchup works specifically is that Xin wins before level 6 and before warrior enchant, but Kha'Zix wins anytime after that. He just has way too much damage for Xin to deal with. If this is the case when talking about arguably the best 1v1 jungler in the game with Xin Zhao, then imagine how Kha'Zix stacks up against other champions in the game. Basically, if you're squishy, you are free food for Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix's biggest weakness comes from his early game. He's under average at this stage of the game because he doesn't really have great ganks or jungle clears. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not crap at ganking or anything like that. He absolutely can make it work, but it's not where he shines, and other champions that are better at that stage of the game will outmuscle him there. And unlike our previous jungler, Kha'Zix is a bit harder to play. Mostly through the playstyle of being an assassin, you've got to be really opportunistic and active on the map. You can't really brain AFK your way through a game, or you'll miss out on too many things. Other than that though, he doesn't have any particularly difficult combos or mechanics, so he's not really too hard to play from that perspective. Basically, the end of the game on Kha'Zix is to get your first item, then get your dust blade, then run around the map and take people out. Having a sweeper is really important for this, so you can spot out wards and make it easier to go undetected while skulking your prey. And after the lane phase, you want to keep an eye on the minion waves on the map to get an idea of where the enemy carries, who are your prime targets, might be looking to pick up farm. You can very often catch people off guard by moving to where one of your big mini waves is pushing and then ambushing someone as they come to pick it up. For our third jungler, I'm going to keep it here in the assassin zone just for a little while longer. It might surprise you, but I recommend Shaco. Honestly, ever since Shaco got reworked, he's been statistically one of the best junglers in the game, consistently in the top 3 as far as win rates go. You could attribute this to his historic low popularity, where only one tricks were playing him, thus inflating the win rate. But recently, Shaco is actually pretty blooming popular. I think this is due to the fact that damage is king right now, and few do damage better than the League of Legends Walmart it. And just to get this out of the way, you can pronounce this Shaco like I do, or Shaco, if your parents don't love you. You don't just have to be a Shaco 1 trick anymore to be good on this guy, since he's actually really good in the current meta, like I was saying. So this means that you can adopt a more standard playstyle and still find success. Much like Kha'Zix, as we were talking about before, Shaco is not really that good in the early game. There are two main reasons for this. Firstly, you need damage, and well, you don't have any items, you don't really have damage. And secondly, you need a few points in your deceive before it's particularly useful, and obviously you don't have that until you're around level 5 or so. The fact you get to take ignite does give you a bit more damage though, so if someone is dumb enough to stand in your box, you can totally take them out. But that's not really something you can rely on, as you know, it's a box on the floor. Should expect people to walk away from that. Shaco's item build is one of the more unique cases, so I'll quickly run through this right here for you. Start with Machete plus an Anal Bead, then get Tiamat as your first item. If you can get it on your first back, then you're absolutely golden. Then go for Berserker Greaves, Dustblade into Triforce. Don't worry about upgrading your jungle item or anything like that, absolutely no need. Alternatively, you can go for full lethality after your Dustblade, maybe go Moby Boots instead of Berserker Greaves, maybe Dark Harvest instead of Fleet Footwork. There are a few alternatives on how you can play Shaco and build him, and a lot of it will come down to your personal preference. What I'm suggesting in this video is just what I would personally recommend. And also, because it's very unique to Shaco, here's some level 1 box tips. At the 30-second mark, put 2 boxes down on your red buff and 2 boxes over the wall onto the crux. Take red with a leash if you can, or use smite if you're not getting a leash, then deceive over the wall onto the crux and take those down next. After that, you can go for the crab and you'll get level 3, so you can either gank, invade, or do the rest of your jungle. That level 3 is usually much earlier than the enemy jungle will be level 3 as well, so if you do find him, you'll have that level advantage and you can fight him. If your boxes get interrupted at level 1, which is not that uncommon really, the best way to recover from this is just to bomb it to your other buff, stack loads of boxes down there and take it away. You can use a smite if you have to as well. Shaco is a bit of a complicated champion though, not just in how you play him, but also with how you use his abilities. For this reason, he can be extremely rewarding if you want to one-trick him, and also loads of fun, but there might be some growing pains when you're first picking him up. So maybe practice a little bit in normal games before you take him on into ranked. Before talking about our 4th jungler here, just want to give a quick shout out to my 2nd channel, Foxdrop Plays. Go and check it out if you want to see some more League gameplays and also some other things. Like currently I'm going through my Dark Souls 3 blind run. Link to that in the description if you fancy it. If you don't fancy it, screw you. Number 4, Sejuani. Sejuani got massively buffed in the last patch to complement, to be honest, an already pretty strong jungler. She's high priority in professional play, as you might imagine, for a strong tank, but still really good in solo queue. She's a totally different style of jungler than what we've put in this video so far, so I figured it would be a good idea to include her for diversity's sake if you enjoy playing things that aren't fighters or assassin. I mean, she's really good anyway by herself, but that's just an extra plus for Sejuani. One of the greatest things about this champion is that as a tank jungler, she is by design pretty impossible to be useless. As long as you can soak up damage and lay down some CC, you're doing your job. And you can do that being 5-0 or 0-5. What makes Sejuani stand out as a tank jungler in a world of damage junglers are competitive clear speeds, relatively high damage, and numerous forms of hard crowd control. Your Q is a knock-up, your E stuns, and so does your ultimate. Sejuani's ult happens to be one of the best engage tools in the entire game, which is so good for solo queue. For real, initiation and engage is OP as heck for winning solo queue games. Being able to choose when your team fights and, you know, assuming you make good decisions, secure successful team fights is really valuable, especially in an environment where communication is totally lacking. There's no need for communication or team strategy when you see that fat off ice bomb go flying towards the enemy. No matter what language you speak, that means one thing: let's go, boys! Sejuani's early game isn't the greatest, and her clears can leave her a bit unhealthy and therefore vulnerable, but being able to take scuttle crabs makes up for that. Depending on the matchup, you'll want to use your trinket wards to get vision of the enemy jungle exits, so you can keep an eye on what the rival jungler is up to, and if need be, to avoid him. Before level 6, Sej has fairly decent ganks, but she really turns it up when she unlocks that ultimate ability. So if you just want to farm up in the early game, that's totally cool. Get it? And then come online when you're a bit stronger. I mentioned also that Sejuani is never really useless, and to that extent she's also pretty easy to play. The hardest thing is making sure you don't fall behind in the early game, but other than that, there's really nothing to her. Tanky champs in general tend to be quite forgiving, as it's much harder for you to get caught out thanks to, you know, your fat health bar and tank stats. And for the last jungler on today's video, we have Jax. I won't go into too much detail for this champion since he's basically a mix of all the others we've mentioned today. He's really the definition of a jack of all trades jungler. He clears pretty well, he skirmishes well, he ganks well, his early is good, his mid is good, his late game is good. He can offer higher damage, but he also has some CC and utility. Yeah, Jax is just an all-round solid choice. The great thing about being proficient in so many areas is the fact that you can mold this champion to match your personal playstyle. If you prefer to farm, he can do that. If you prefer to gank, he can do that. If you want to win early, he can do that. And if you need to scale, well, he can do that too. And as with all the champions in today's video, it's important to take a look at how hard Jax is to play. So, is he difficult? No, really not. Mechanically, he's easy, and since he's so flexible, it's also pretty hard to play him wrong. So all in all, a solid addition to your jungle pool. I know that's not a lot of detail for this specific pick, but I did do a gameplay not too long ago on him. So again, links to all of these gameplays will be in the description. But that about does it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it or you learned something. Let me know down below in the comments if you have some different ideas for what you're going to play in Season 9 to give yourself a good head start in your Season 9 ranked climb. But for me, like I mentioned, I'm probably been playing a lot of Xin Zhao, slash mute all, run at people, all that lovely business. But thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can leave me with that cheeky thumbs up. You can subscribe to me for more Legends content. Like I mentioned before, I do a lot of gameplays on this channel, so if that's what you're interested in, stick around for some more. Most importantly, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. Good luck in your Season 9 ranked endeavors. I'm out of here. Have a good day, and we'll see you in our next video.